Questions orales. The honourable member for Regina Capel.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar this Liberal government spends comes out of the pockets of hardworking Canadians in either inflation or tax hikes. And today we'll find out just how many dollars this government is going to take out of the pockets of Canadians. There is going to be one difference today. After today, every tax rate, every piece of red tape, every rule, regulation, and every bit of wasteful spending will be exactly how this Prime Minister wants it. Conservatives have been clear. We will not support a costly budget that makes life more expensive for Canadians. So instead of asking Canadians to pay more for a big bloated bureaucracy, why not bring in an affordable budget that lowers prices for everyone?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Then it's a great day for the official opposition because we are going to have an affordable budget. We are going to have an historic budget that creates opportunity for young people and Canadians from coast to coast to coast, building this country, making sure that government works for people, invests in their communities. And, Mr. Speaker, we look forward to having the Conservatives support this great budget.
The honourable member for Regina Capel.
Would be an 11th hour change because this government has been telling young Canadians that they're going to have to sacrifice more so that government gets bigger and bigger. They even try to deny that their hidden taxes on food makes life more expensive. They call those hidden taxes imaginary. Let me tell you, the farmer that has to pay the industrial carbon tax on his new equipment or on the fertilizer he buys has to pass those costs on to Canadians, and food prices go up as a result. He doesn't have the option to not pay the industrial carbon tax on farm equipment and fertilizer. So a concrete measure to help bring prices down would be to scrap the industrial carbon tax. Will they do that today?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Here we go again, Mr. Speaker, with these imaginary taxes. There is no tax on food. There will never be a tax on groceries. And great news for the opposition, today's budget won't have any of these imaginary taxes in them either. What this budget will have are historic investments in young people, in building this country, in building communities, and in making this country stronger, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Regina Capel.
Farmers can call up CRA and say that the carbon tax on farm equipment and fertilizer is just imaginary, or maybe they can write imaginary checks to pay for them, Mr. Speaker. But it's not just the industrial carbon tax that's driving up food prices, it's also the Liberal fuel standard. When truckers take the food from farms to factories to grocery stores, they can't tell Revenue Canada that those taxes are imaginary. They have to pay that extra 17 cents a litre. So again, to help bring prices down for working Canadians, why not scrap the fuel standards that are driving up food costs?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, this is more about the talk of imaginary taxes coming from the other side. Right. But you know what? If you want to talk about clean fuel regulations, you don't even have to just take my word for it that it's not a tax. You can check the Canola Digest because they point out this provides opportunities for farmers. When we're talking about biofuels, this is an important place. It's an opportunity for canola farmers. I hope that they support it, and I hope they support our budget.
The honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent, Akiawenrak. Mr. Speaker, in less than 2 hours, the budgets will table their 10th deficit. In 2015, they were elected by saying 3 small deficits and no more deficits after 2019. But the reality was that the debt has doubled under the Liberals. The cost of housing has doubled under the Liberals. And the Prime Minister told young people, you'll have to sacrifice even more. Mr. Speaker, instead of asking young people to sacrifice their future, instead of having an expensive election, why not have an affordable budget for an affordable life for Canadians? The Honourable Leader of the government in the House, the member across the way, will have a great day today because, yes, we'll have an affordable budget that protects the most vulnerable, that invests in our youth, that invests in our world, that invests in communities from coast to coast to coast, a budget that will create opportunities, that will build our country, to build the strongest G7 economy. So I would like to ask the member to support us today. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent, Akiawenrak. Mr. Speaker, all Canadians want a budget that will protect their cost of living. People are hurting with regards to food. Inflation has doubled the price of some food. 2.5 million Canadians have to go to food banks. The Prime Minister was voted by saying he would be judged on the cost of food. And after 10 years of Liberal governments, Sylvain Charlebois, a professor, says that if we have a look at the G7, we are currently the only G7 country that has had 4 consecutive months of food price increases. Will the Canadians finally have an affordable budget? The Honourable Secretary of State. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our affordable budget will have historic investments that will strengthen Canada. It will strengthen families and Canadians from coast to coast to coast. These investments will allow us to create jobs and careers for young people. It will allow us to build more affordable housing for young Canadians, and it will allow us to protect support measures that help families. Our government will table a budget that will build, that will protect, and that will strengthen Canada. And I cannot wait for the members across the way to vote for it. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent à Cawenrac. Mr. Speaker, we've had a proposal tabled for months that will reduce the cost of food, and that's abolishing the industrial carbon tax. Mr. Speaker, food doesn't just grow on trees. It has to be harvested from the trees. It has to be processed. Thereafter, it also has to be packaged and sent to stores, and that is where the industrial carbon tax kicks in. Mr. Charlebois, the same professor that I mentioned before, said yesterday before parliamentary committee, saying that the costs have gone up. The difference between us and the States have gone up because we have an industrial carbon tax and they don't. End of intervention, inaudible for the interpreter. The Honourable Minister for the Environment. There are always people that talk about imaginary taxes, and they continue to talk about imaginary taxes, but let's get back down to earth. We've tabled a responsible budget that will tackle affordability, that will help Canadians because we support Canadians. We are ready to work hard for Canadians to build a strong future, and I hope that the Conservatives will support our budget to do that as well. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals have announced that they are scrapping their plan to plant 2 billion trees. This proves once again that they haven't understood a thing. If everyone was laughing at them for this programme, it wasn't because the programme was bad and it needed to be cancelled. It was because the Liberals were incapable of planting the damn trees in the first place. Everyone was laughing at them because year after year they missed their target. Today we learned that they are abandoning the programme. Instead of correcting their incompetence, they simply just to give up. Is that really the Liberal approach?
Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, our budget today will seize a generational opportunity to transform our economy through ambitious investments, rigorous discipline, ensuring every dollar goes to help build the strongest economy in the G7, and we look forward to sharing that with the member opposite.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. I don't think he was answering from the right sheet, Mr. Speaker. The Liberals are cutting their 2 billion tree planting programme. That's what we're talking about. Just as they've cut carbon pricing, just as they are allowing their own environmental assessments to be circumvented through Bill C5. All the environmental measures put in place under Justin Trudeau, as meagre and insufficient as they were, are being abandoned one by one. It's setback after setback after setback. You'd think you were watching the Conservatives play, Mr. Speaker. So the question arises, do the Liberals actually believe in climate change? The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House. My esteemed colleague across the way will have to wait for the budget, but what I can confirm now is that we will continue to ensure that Canada is a key player against climate change. Instead of providing setbacks, we will continue to progress in Canada. I hope that the member doesn't want us to stop projects in Quebec, but Mr. Speaker, what I can confirm is that we will invest in our youth, invest in our regions, and invest for our country's progress. The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are announcing the abandonment of their strategy to plant 2 billion trees today. but it's symbolic to abandon the only green measure remaining from the Trudeau era. It's ironic that it's happening on a day of a budget that is dangerous for the environment. The budget will detail the federal government's new strategy called Climate Competitiveness. If this means cutting carbon pricing, cutting electric vehicle quotas, cutting tree planting, and encouraging the expansion of oil and gas, shouldn't we just rename it Climate Capitulation? The Honourable Minister for the Environment. Mr. Speaker, the member across the way should know full well, because we've talked about it many times, that our government will continue to fight against climate change. Not only that, we will continue to build a strong Canada, because that's what Canadians want. They want to see that we have significant projects that means good jobs for the youth. That means a strong country, and we will continue to do so, and I really hope that they will be supportive of our budget.
Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
Every dollar this Liberal government spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians through higher taxes and higher inflation. And today at 4 o'clock, we're going to find out just how much more they're going to take out of the pockets of Canadians. And Canadians could be paying $300 to $400 more in grocery costs because of their food packaging tax. And Canadians are looking for an affordable budget for an affordable life. So will the Prime Minister instead scrap his food packaging tax instead of trying to engineer a costly election with his costly budget?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is an historic day for our country. Today, our government will table a generational disciplined budget. We will transform our economy from reliance to resilience and build our economy in the strongest in the G7. We will spend less on government operation and invest more in capital projects and build our economy into the strongest economy in the G7. I hope the party opposite cuts the rhetoric and will support us and vote for our budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
We've heard this same tune from these Liberals before, and the result, 2.2 million Canadians visiting food banks. Their industrial carbon tax is another example of driving up costs for everyday Canadians. They're paying more and they're getting less. We want to know why they continue with these taxes, like their food packaging tax, that even Deloitte, we know they love consultants, and Deloitte is saying that it's raising the price of produce by 30%. So will the Prime Minister, while he's still got a chance, commit, instead of having a costly election, to having an affordable budget for affordable lives for Canadians?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, there is no food packaging tax. The party opposite is obsessed with imaginary taxes. Let's talk affordability, Mr. Speaker. Let's talk about cutting taxes for 22 million Canadians. No comments on that. Let's talk about cutting the tax for first-time homebuyers. No comments on that. Let's talk about cutting the consumer carbon tax. No comments on that, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we are focused on affordability for Canadians. Canadians made a choice the last election. They chose our side. They chose our Prime Minister. They rejected that leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar the Liberal spends, we know, comes from the pockets of Canadians, which drives up taxes and inflation. And now they're making it worse with their hidden food taxes. For example, the Liberal packaging plastic ban will add $5.6 billion to food prices because, of course, it forces producers to use more costly packaging that doesn't preserve food as well, which, of course, means shorter shelf lives, more waste, and higher food prices. So will the Prime Minister stop trying to engineer this costly election with his costly budget and instead scrap this $5.6 billion hidden food tax, Mr. Speaker?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, as my colleagues have said, there is no tax. It's an imaginary tax. There is no tax on food packaging in Canada.
For Kildonan St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, the experts are telling us that these food packaging taxes will add $5.6 billion, and that's just one of them. They're also forcing the food industry to redesign food labels, of all things, which will add an additional $8 billion to the cost of food. Canadians aren't asking the Liberals to redesign food labels, Mr. Speaker. They're asking for more affordable food. So will they scrap this hidden food tax and save Canadians some money.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there is no food packaging tax. There is no food labeling tax. There is no tax on groceries. These are imaginary taxes, and repeating these same lines is not going to make them real.
Member for Oshawa.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar the Liberals spend comes straight out of the pockets of Canadians through higher taxes and the skyrocketing cost of living. The Liberals can gaslight and call fuel regulations tax imaginary all they want, but my neighbours in Oshawa will feel the hit up to 17 cents per litre more for gas. Will the Prime Minister stop trying to engineer a costly election with a costly budget and finally scrap the fuel regulations tax?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to stand up for Canadians every single day. We're going to invest in their futures. We're going to invest in the jobs that Canadians are talking about they want to take up. Mr. Speaker, this is a time when Canadians have pulled together to build Canada strong, and that's exactly what our budget's going to do. We're going to make sure the tools are there for every Canadian who is protecting this country. I hope these guys get on board.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable-Lotbinière. When the Liberal government spends a dollar comes out of the pocket of a Canadian because of higher taxes and Liberal inflation. Liberal hypocrisy has reached a peak. They are hiding taxes on the backs of families who are struggling to feed themselves. Yes, it is a hidden tax when they pass a $5.2 billion bill to Canadians by changing food packaging rules. Instead of tabling a costly budget this afternoon, will the Prime Minister abolish the packaging tax and give $5 billion back to families in an affordable budget for an affordable life? The Leader of the Government in the House. Mr. Speaker, all Canadians know that there is no packaging tax. There's no tax as is described by the member. There's no tax on groceries. These are imaginary taxes that the Conservatives are dreaming up. They do not exist. Canadians already know this. The Conservatives should probably know this as well. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable-Lotbinière. There's nothing imaginary when mothers simply do not have the money to pay for milk, cheese, meat, everything they need to feed their children properly. For example, Mr. Speaker, the industrial carbon tax will cost them up to $1,000 in very real money every single year. Whilst they're wondering how they're going to pay for their groceries, the Prime Minister is trying to provoke a costly election with a costly budget. Why not think about families for once and simply cancel the industrial carbon tax instead? Because life is just becoming less and less affordable. The Honourable Minister for Industry. Mr. Speaker, it's not because my colleague keeps asking the same question that he should get a different answer. My point is that he is drumming up imaginary taxes, but he's also not referring to the fact that we have reduced taxes for the middle class, for example. In the next budget that will be tabled this afternoon before this House, we'll protect our jobs, we'll protect our economy, we'll protect our communities. We'll also be here to build our country, build our economy with great projects, major defence investments. Our budget will also be here to help Canadians. The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte-Acton. Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister returns from a mission to Asia, let us remember that China trades heavily in products made with forced labour, including child labour. Canada's economic diversification must never be achieved at the expense of slavery and human rights abuses. The Bloc Québécois has tabled Bill C-251 to prevent any importation from regions suspected of using modern slavery unless the seller can prove that they do not profit from forced labour or child labour. Will the government support our bill? The Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank my honourable colleague for that question. Our government does not support forced labour at all. We will continue to defend human rights throughout the world, especially through multilateral organizations. At the same time, we will continue to invest in our economy and have bilateral relations when it is necessary for our country throughout the world. The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the Chinese regime is guilty of genocide against the Uyghur and Turkic peoples in the Xinjiang. This genocide includes forced labor and child labor, whose blood and sweat are found in products such as cotton. This genocide has been recognized by this very House, but has not stopped the Prime Minister from courting China. The Bloc Québécois bill is simple. It mirrors what the United States is already doing to ban the import of products made with forced labor. The question is simple. Will they support the Bloc Québécois bill, yes or no? Unfortunately, I can't bring this to a vote, but I will hand it over to the Minister for Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, Canada is incredibly preoccupied by the treatment of the Uyghur in China. The report was one essential step that raised very alarming factors of what's happening there. China still has not acted in a significant way to respond. Canada will continue to work with its partners, its international partners, to resolve this situation. Canada is here for human rights every single day through international organizations. That is a priority for us.
The Honourable Member for Newmarket Aurora.
Young Canadians are asking a simple question. What is left for me to sacrifice after a decade of failed Liberal policies? They're saying, I can't find a job, I'm delaying starting a family, I can't buy a home, I am living in my parents' basement. What is left to sacrifice, Prime Minister? And what is the Liberal government's response? We're going to mortgage your future with more generational debt. Will the Prime Minister stop breaking his promises, rein in his reckless spending, and finally deliver an affordable budget that gives young Canadians a fighting chance at an affordable life?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today's budget will deliver historic investments to build Canada strong. This means strong families and strong communities from coast to coast to coast. Investments that will create good quality jobs and careers for young Canadians, that will build infrastructure that will put more affordable homes within reach for young Canadians and protect the supports that help families to get ahead. Your new government is putting forward a budget to build, protect, and empower Canadians and Canada, and I hope the members opposite will join us and support the budget.
Honourable Member for Newmarket Aurora.
They have been saying those same words for over a decade, but life has only gotten harder. They call it an investment, but it's not. It is a mortgage on our youth's future. A 19-year-old girl from Halifax was on national news saying she can't afford groceries, she can't find work. That is the reality behind their so-called investments. Youth unemployment is at 15%, not because young people have given up, but because this Liberal government has given up on them. So will the Prime Minister stop asking young Canadians to sacrifice even more and deliver an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the member opposite, this government is taking action to make life more affordable for young Canadians. We are delivering on housing. You look across the country right now, average rents are down, mortgage rates are down, home prices are going down. That's benefiting young Canadians, and we're not stopping there, Mr. Speaker. We are doubling up on housing for young Canadians, making sure the first-time homebuyers tax benefits up to $50,000, and we're going to deliver with Build Canada Homes, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Hill South.
This Liberal Prime Minister told young Canadians that they must make some sacrifices. Well, they've already had to sacrifice good-paying jobs and the dream of home ownership, and they've already paid the price as food costs keep going up. A Liberal inflationary deficits throw fuel on the fire. A 19-year-old girl from Halifax said it best on national news. Quote, food insecurity is not good. Finding a job is even harder. Youth unemployment is now approaching 15%, the highest rate since 2010, coming out of the Great Recession. Will the Liberals stop asking young Canadians to make more sacrifices, finally keep their promises, so young Canadians can have an affordable budget for an affordable home?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
I
traveled across this country. I've met with union leaders, I've met with workers, and they're excited about our plan to build big and build bold, build infrastructure project, build Canada Homes, because of the opportunities it creates. Opportunities to bring in high school students, opportunities to bring in apprentices, opportunities to invest in the next generation of skilled workers. Mr. Speaker, if the Conservatives want an affordable budget for an affordable life, they have the opportunity to vote for one today. Will they join us?
Honourable member for Richmond Hill South.
Mr. Speaker, the only thing generational with Liberal deficits is the debt that the next generation must pay.
Exactly.
Liberal inflationary deficits are driving up the cost of everything. Young Canadians can't find jobs, they can't afford homes, and they can't even afford food. 25% of Canadians face food insecurity. They're sacrificing by cutting back on nutritious food. It's gone so bad that recipes for poverty potlucks and struggle meals, like those using Hamburger Helper and instant ramen, are now trending on social media. When will the Liberals finally stop breaking their promises, get spending under control, and deliver what young Canadians actually need? An affordable budget for an affordable life.
Yeah. Secretary of State.
Again, those words, we keep hearing those words from the Conservatives, but the reality of the situation is that every time there's an opportunity to vote for measures that help Canadians, they vote against it. They vote against no to dental care. They vote against no to the National School Food Program, which they call garbage, Mr. Speaker. They said no to the increase of Canada Child Benefit, no to a tax cut that helps 22 million Canadians. While they keep saying no, our government is investing to help families, yes, to lowering costs for Canadians, yes, to building a stronger future for Canadians. So, Mr. Speaker, today they'll get another chance to vote for a budget that is affordable for Canadians. Will they join us?
The honourable member for Terra Nova, the Peninsulas.
Mr. Speaker, food insecurity is not good, and finding a job is even harder. Those are the words of a 19-year-old from Atlantic Canada. Youth employment is skyrocketing, nearly 15%. And this Prime Minister have told Canadians they needed to make more sacrifices, but they've already sacrificed enough. Young people are having to sacrifice working in their hometown because they have to go away for work. This means that our kids will be fast sacrificing dinners with grandma. When will these Liberals get over their overspending, get spending under control so that the Canadians can have an affordable life and not get stuck with the bill?
Right. The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Mr. Speaker, I'm so proud to be able to stand today in reference to the opposition member from Newfoundland and Labrador and talk about the measures that we are putting in place for young workers to train in construction, welders, the work that we need to build Canada strong, happening in our province. I was so proud to make that announcement last week. That's just one of the many measures, not to mention the programs for children and families. I really hope this member votes for the budget.
The member for Port Moody Coquitlam.
Mr. Speaker, the world economy is shifting, and Canada must rise to meet this unprecedented moment. Global trade is in disarray, tariffs reshaping markets, and our largest trading partner increasingly unreliable. Budget 2025 is our chance to act. Can the Secretary of State for Financial Institutions and the CRA explain how Canada will meet this moment with a historic investment budget?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member for that great question. This is a transformational moment. We will pivot from an era of reliance to resilience. With Budget 2025, we're laying the groundwork of some of the investments, some of the biggest investments this country has seen since the Second World War. We will spend less in government operations. We will invest more in Canadians, invest more in Canada. This is our moment, Mr. Speaker, our time to build big, build bold, and build now. It's time to build Canada strong. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Foothills.
Inflation is up another 4% because of the Liberals' hidden industrial carbon tax and tax on food packaging. Now, the Liberals will like to say that these are just imaginary taxes, but experts at the Agriculture Committee yesterday confirmed not only are these taxes not imaginary, they are in fact driving up the price of groceries. And I want to quote Dr. Sylvain Charlebois, who said wholesale food prices have increased, and one of the factors driving this is the carbon tax. And so we are very concerned, and we expect food inflation to be a problem moving forward. So will the Prime Minister stop his inflationary budget and scrap his taxes on food so Canadians can afford?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Speaker, once again, there is no tax on plastic food packaging. They can keep saying it if they want, but it doesn't make it
doesn't
true.
exist.
But you know what is true? We are going to be tabling a budget today. It's going to support Canadians. It's an important, big moment for our country as we build our country and we build it well. I hope that the Conservatives will support us.
The honourable member for Foothills.
Well, imaginary things like Deloitte and Dr. Sylvain Charlebois have already confirmed what Canadians know. These are not imaginary taxes. They are struggling to pay these taxes every single day at the grocery store. The food professor said as a result of the industrial carbon tax and taxes on food packaging, Canada is the only G7 country where food inflation has increased for 4 straight months. And it's only going to get worse, which is scary when we have 2.2 million Canadians forced to use a food bank. Will the Prime Minister scrap his taxes on food so Canadians can afford to feed themselves?
Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, once again, these are imaginary taxes. They do not exist. There is no tax on food packaging. He can cite all of the imaginary people that he wants to cite. There are no taxes on food packaging. And good news, this budget won't include any either.
The honourable member for Oxford.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar this Liberal government spends comes straight from the pockets of hard-working Canadians. More government deficits mean higher taxes and more inflation, jacking up the cost of living already. Canadians are struggling. Nicole, a single mom from Oxford, works 2 jobs, 70 hours a week, barely sees her kids, and still can't make ends meet. These stories from like Nicole and others are now becoming the norm thanks to Liberal deficits. So instead of trying to cause a costly election on their costly budget, why won't they table an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Minister for Indigenous Services.
Mr. Speaker, I want to highlight today that the opposition can offer Nicole and those single parent households the support of a future that is based in today's budget that will be presented. Wow. My colleagues today have the chance to protect those very futures that they speak about, including those young Indigenous children, the fastest growing population who need us and depend on the programs that we have put in place. Canadians chose a Prime Minister with a vision that they trust. We hope the opposition will prioritize protecting Canadians' budgets that they need in this critical time. We know that we all...
The honourable member for Oxford.
Canadians have seen this nightmare before. Empty Liberal promises can't feed empty stomachs. When Liberals recklessly spend, it's Canadians who pay the price. Higher grocery prices, higher rents, more on gas, and the only thing that is growing in this Liberal economy are the lines at food banks, with over 2 million folks now visiting food bank in a single month. Yep. Liberal deficits mean higher taxes, higher inflation, meaning life is more expensive for Canadians. So I'll ask again, instead of trying to cause a costly election on their costly budget, why won't they table an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, once again with the imaginary taxes, Mr. Speaker, but I'll tell you something that isn't imaginary, because I get to be the House Leader and actually see things that aren't imaginary. We are debating C4, which does 3 things. It cuts income taxes on every single person that pays income tax. It cuts the GST for first-time home buyers. And guess what? It gets rid of the carbon tax, Mr. Speaker. But these Conservatives play games and procedures and talk around these things to delay affordability measures that are quite real, not imaginary for Canadians. They should...
L'honorable député de Beauce.
The honourable member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, Liberals are taking money out of Canadians' pockets with inflation caused by their deficits. This is threatening our children's future, which is unacceptable. This record-breaking deficit budget will destroy our children's dreams. That is unacceptable. The Liberals are also going to trigger a costly election with a costly budget. Why not present an affordable budget so that Canadians can have an affordable life? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Well, it's very clear that each word that comes out of a Conservative member's mouth actually comes out of the Conservative leader's office. If they want to talk about the future, it's remarkable that when we see the lack of seriousness they show at question period, that Canadians chose a serious government that gives more purchasing power to the middle class, more opportunity to youth, that is creating more big projects to build our country. For once, I would invite the Conservatives to show some ambition for Canada and to support us in this budget.
Honorable député de Beauce.
The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, well, we are very nervous about what the Liberals are coming up with here. We were expecting $42 billion of deficit, but things are going to actually be much worse. This Liberal government is completely disconnected from reality. It is just spending and spending. Each dollar that the Liberals are spending is coming directly out of the pockets of people in my riding. Mr. Speaker, why not table an affordable budget to make Canadians' lives affordable? The Honourable Government House Leader. Well, it may not be in the notes that the leader of the Conservatives just gave my colleague, but he should speak to his colleagues who have been slowing down the adoption of Bill C-4, which would lower taxes for all those who pay income tax in Canada, which lowers the GST on homes for first-time homebuyers, and which also eliminates the carbon tax. The member across the way should stop slowing down that bill. That will bring more affordability to all of Canada.
Kamloops Thompson Nicolau.
Mr. Speaker, I spent much of my legal career prosecuting internet offenses against children. This included possession of child sexual abuse material. Let's be clear, victims often serve a psychological life sentence. Last week, the Supreme Court of Canada struck down the mandatory 1 year in jail for possession of child sexual abuse and exploitation material. The minister said today that he won't use the notwithstanding clause on this ruling. So the question is this: why are the rights of victims second and the rights of sex offenders first?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, through actions, we are standing up for victims of crime.
Hear, hear.
Plain and simple, Mr. Speaker, child abusers should face the toughest penalties under Canadian law. That's why we introduced C-4.
No. These are obviously important issues, and therefore we deserve important debate. So the Secretary of State, from the top.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The rights of victims are very important to this government. That is why we have been taking action. And let me make it very plain and simple to the Conservatives, Mr. Speaker. Child abusers should face the toughest penalties under Canadian law. That is why we introduced C-14. We're making reforms, sweeping reforms, Mr. Speaker, that make bail stricter, that make sentences tougher, and that make sure that child abusers stay behind bars. Mr. Speaker, we also introduced lawful access so that we can catch child predators and we can give law enforcement the tools that are needed, Mr. Speaker, but the Conservatives are against it.
The Honourable Member for Kamloops Thompson Nicolau.
Mr. Speaker, Bill C-14 has nothing to do with mandatory minimums for those who possess and produce child sexual abuse and exploitation material. I have looked far too many victims in the eye to feel comfortable giving the answer that the minister just gave, Mr. Speaker. Victims don't want excuses, they want action. We often hear about charter rights for the accused, including pedophiles, but we don't hear about rights for the victims. If the minister has ruled out using the notwithstanding clause, what's his plan to take sex offenders off our streets?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, we've been taking action on this issue since day one. We introduced legislation called C-63 that made sexual offenses online, but the Conservatives did not support it, Mr. Speaker. We've brought lawful access provision so that child pedophiles can be caught, Mr. Speaker, but the Conservatives did not support it.
So I'm interested in hearing this answer. So the Secretary of State. Secretary of State may continue.
Mr. Mr. Speaker, child abusers are amongst the most reprehensible in our society. That is why we've taken many measures like C-63, like C-14, and like lawful access provisions so that they can be caught in the first place, Mr. Speaker. We're also going to be bringing forward new
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the recent Supreme Court decision, which stated that 1 year of imprisonment for having accessed or possessed child sexual abuse material, saying that this was cruel and unusual punishment, is a real insult to the victims of these crimes. The Conservative government had hardened minimum sentences for this content. It's very clear that this government, and I wonder why, is more protecting the rights of pedophiles than the rights of children.
Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, we are all about protecting the rights of children. That is why we want to give law enforcement the tools that are needed to catch predators online. We brought forward tougher sentences for child offenders. These child abusers should be put behind bars, and that is exactly where we intend to keep them through C-14 and the new legislation that we're going to be tabling in this House this fall.
Hear, hear. Honorable Député de Bourassa.
The Honourable Member for Bourassa. Mr. Speaker, the global economy is at a critical moment. The international trade system is experiencing upheaval. And today, new tariffs seem like the rule rather than the exception. Our country is facing economic difficulties and more uncertainty. Our main trade partner is no longer as reliable as it used to be, which is making our economy go through a more precarious period. With Budget 2025 coming up, can the Minister for Canada-US Trade tell the House why this is a historic investment budget? The Honourable Minister for Canada-US Trade. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank our colleague for Bourassa for this question. This is a period of transformation, and we are laying the groundwork for significant investments, the most significant in Canada since the Second World War. Mr. Speaker, Canadians elected an ambitious government, a government that will take strong action to build a resilient economy. And the good news, Mr. Speaker, is that in just a few moments, the House of Commons will get all of that good news. I know that all parliamentarians are looking forward to it.
For Mission Mastery Abbotsford.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar the Liberal government spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians in the form of higher taxes and inflation. The Prime Minister tells young Canadians to sacrifice, yet Liberal insiders are thriving. Case in point, as Canadians give up on home ownership, this government handed out over $30 million in bonuses to 99% of housing agency executives, averaging $43,000 per bonus. Instead of trying to cause a costly election on a costly budget, why not an affordable budget for an affordable life?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This new government has a very credible plan for building affordable housing. We are focused on delivering that affordable housing. $13 billion has been committed in this new budget. We hope the Conservatives will support this if they care about affordable housing. But, Mr. Speaker, they've voted against every affordable housing measure for 10 years now.
That's right.
I don't expect a lot from them, but when Canadians, and they're raising it in the House here, young Canadians need affordable housing, we expect their support on this budget.
Honourable Member for Calgary-Skyview.
Mr. Speaker, after 10 years, Liberal insiders have never had it so good. Canadians line up at food banks while this government lets $50 million IBM contract at CRA blow past $119 million. On track for $214 million. Young Canadians are told to sacrifice, so Liberal-linked insiders, consultants can get rich. Canadians are stuck paying the bill. Instead of a costly election on a costly budget, why not affordable budget for an affordable life by cancelling consultants?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I got great news to the party opposite. We have an affordability measure that maybe they may be interested in, Mr. Speaker. It's automatic federal benefits.
Wow.
Giving benefits to 5.5 million Canadians that need them the most. Canada Child Benefit, Disability Tax Credit, GST credit. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we are laser focused on affordability for Canadians. The other side continues with the rhetoric and same old slogans. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Similkameen, South Okanagan, West Kootenay.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar of the Liberal government spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians in the form of higher taxes and inflation. The Prime Minister tells young Canadians they need to sacrifice. While more families than ever are lining up at food banks, this Liberal government is using Canadian tax dollars to fund a whopping $25 billion a year on outside consultants.
Wow.
Instead of trying to cause a costly election on a costly budget, why not an affordable budget for an affordable life?
Good question. The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, this is an historic day for our House. I thought we'd all be together. This is a historic day for our country. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we deliver affordability for Canadians, cutting taxes for 22 million Canadians. We cut the tax for GST for first-time home buyers. We are focused on affordability, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we will deliver for Canadians. We got a mandate on April 28th to deliver affordability. The other side has handed one sheet around all question period. Same old rhetoric, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The honourable member for Prescott Russell, Cumberland.
Mr. Speaker, the world faces unprecedented uncertainty as the norms and institutions that underpinned global security and prosperity over the last half-century have been tossed aside as a new era of protectionism has begun. I'll be blunt. Voters in my riding of Prescott Russell Cumberland are anxious about what this new world order means for Canada. Can the Secretary of State for Financial Institutions and CRA let those people know how Budget 2025 will meet this unique and historical moment?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member for giving me the opportunity to inform the House that today we will table an historic budget that will spend less on operations and invest more in Canada. Mr. Speaker, the member opposite may not believe it, but we will build the strongest economy in the G7. This is the largest investment in our country since the Second World War. We will build big, we will build bold, and we will build Canada strong. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Caribou, Prince George.
First responders, nurses, and healthcare workers serve and protect our communities every day. They put their uniforms on every day, knowing that their lives will be on the line, that they run towards danger. They mend our broken bones. They hold our hand as we take our last breath. What we've just seen by this Liberal government is shameful. Just before QP, I rose and asked for unanimous consent to pass a law that would protect firefighters, nurses, paramedics today, immediately, right now. The Liberals are using our frontline heroes as pawns in their political games. The minister has the power. Will he give unanimous consent to pass S-233?
Good question.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I see I've been missed by my friends opposite.
Exactly.
I have good news. On the subject that grounds the member's question, this is one where I think we can collaborate in a nonpartisan way. The government has just tabled legislation, Bill C-14, that includes protections for first responders by adding aggravating factors to their sentences, which will result in harder penalties for those who commit assaults against our first responders. If we're going to count on first responders to keep our communities safe, the least we can do is offer the protection of Canada's criminal law. I will work across party lines with that member and with Conservatives in the Senate to adopt adoptions that will protect first responder as soon as possible.
The honourable member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians do not want coal mines destroying our cherished rock.
You know, there's too much ambient noise. The honourable member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, Speaker, Canadians do not want coal mines destroying our cherished Rocky Mountains. 4 years ago, the minister promised new coal mine selenium regulations that would protect our rivers and lakes from toxic pollution. And now we discover that instead of providing protection, the Liberals are allowing a dramatic increase in the pollutants going into rivers and lakes. This government is betraying its promise to Canadians. When will this government finally put the health of Canadians and the environment ahead of foreign interests?
Well, Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, we have been very clear that we are going to continue to fight for clean air and clean waters for our next generations to come. As we continue to build Canada, we're going to build it well, and we will continue to make sure that we're protecting the environment at the same moment that we are building an economy with good jobs for the future. My job as Minister of Environment is to make sure that we continue to fight for the environment, and I will do it.
Bravo. The honourable member for Courtenay Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are being bled dry at the pump, at the grocery till, on their credit cards and mortgages, and by cell phone bills that just keep climbing, while corporate giants post record profits. Last year, RBC made $16 billion, Rogers $1.7 billion, Loblaws over $2 billion, and Imperial Oil almost $1 billion last quarter alone. How much profit is enough? And will this Liberal government include a corporate excess profit tax in this budget to finally protect Canadians from runaway corporate greed?
Honorable Ministre de l'Industrie.
Mr. Speaker, I agree with my colleague. We need to make sure that we work together on making the life of Canadians more affordable. And that's why we believe in competition. That's why also we took a bold decision when it comes to telecommunications fees and upholding the CRTC decision to make sure there's more competition and therefore lower fees for Canadians. But we'll do more, and he just needs to read the budget regarding what's going to happen when it comes to our competition across the country. Thank you.
It being 3:09, the House will now proceed to the taking of the deferred recorded division on the motion to concur in the first report of the Standing Committee on Human Resources, Skills and Social Development and the Status of Persons with Disabilities. Call in the members.